What is the most exciting thing you have ever done? I've posted this before, but it was a long time ago and so it will be new for most of you. It fits the question perfectly. Way back, my wife and I bought our first house, a major fixer-upper. It had an old gas floor furnace that had not been used in decades. If you are not familiar with these holdovers from the very early 1900s, think gas-fired waffle iron built into the floor. We thought it was worth a try to get it fired up until we could install central heat. Since natural gas was much cheaper than the electric space heaters, that was the other option. To get to the pilot light for the furnace, I had to belly slide through the crawl space. And I do mean belly slide. There was not nearly enough room to actually crawl on hands and knees. And the umpty million nails projecting through the floor from the hardwood floor overhead would remind me very painfully if I got up too high. Initial inspection. Using one of those flashlights that goes dark every time you jar it, and comes back on if you shake it just right. Remember those? No, you whipper-snappers have it easy. Revealed a pile of spent matches inside the furnace next to the pilot, indicating people had had a lot of trouble lighting it in the past. The shutoff valve was stuck. Closed also, but didn't look corroded. I figured if I ever got it to turn, it might be okay. I came back with a pair of large pliers and the propane torch. The idea was to use the pliers to give me a little more leverage to gently work the valve open. Then use the torch on a low flame to light the pilot light, taking as long as I needed without holding a match. I felt clever. I got set up and was working on the valve carefully and slowly, when a small movement just past the furnace caught my eye. A large bobcat had been backed into the corner by the nasty man with the light and the hissing blowtorch, and Kitty was obviously very unhappy with the situation. His eyes were fixed on my arm, which was extended towards him at full stretch. Working with the pliers, he was about 4 feet from my hand, and his back end was making that little wiggle that cats do just before the launch. I instinctively jerked my hand back, but in so doing I seemed to have clenched down on the pliers. Did you know that using pliers, you can rip the guts out of a gas valve with very little effort? You can. A spring or something from the valve hit me sharply in the nose. My elbow hit both the flashlight and the torch on the way back. One of them went out. It was the wrong one. The propane torch went spinning off about 10 feet, still lighted in otherwise total darkness. The open gas pipe blew a cooling jet of natural gas into my sweaty face. So, I was trapped on my belly, inches from nails over my back, in total darkness with a panicked bobcat, wide open gas line, and a live flame. You don't forget moments like that. By estimation it lasted about 15 years. My first reaction was, forget the bobcat. What can I do about the gas leak? Quote, I reached out, found the valve, and stuffed a finger in it. To my surprise and relief, unlike a water leak, you can stop a gas leak with your finger. I felt around with my other hand and found the flashlight. Turning it on by shaking it revealed that the bobcat had, without making a sound and without touching me at all, had somehow teleported past me and was gone. Thank you, Mr. Bobcat. Looking around, I located the innards of the gas valve. It seemed to be a simple cylinder with a hole through it from side to side. The handle was still attached, making it obvious how it went in the body of the valve. I removed my finger, slid it in place. It made a little click as it seated perfectly. The spring was a C-shaped retainer that would slide in a groove to keep the innards in the valve. It also clicked neatly into position. I spit on the whole thing and smeared it around. No bubbles. No leaks. And it turned like it was brand new. I retrieved the torch, lit the furnace, and crawled out. My wife was waiting outside. Did you see that huge kitty that ran out of the crawl space? I think you scared it. Once drove a locomotive through the Canadian Rockies backwards. Someone at a concert who was an acquaintance of a peripheral friend turned around and asked us if we wanted a hit of LSD. This is like 11 p.m. Well, we have the after party and figure it must have been bunk. Then 4 a.m. it hits hard. I had to call into work because I was a cactus. My now wife pulsed from her current age to old and back. The ceiling fan had a sly look to it. I fully understood the futility of language to express anything, truly. Oh. Also we had a guest sleeping on the couch who did not take any, so it was a sort of bottle episode. Trip. 10 out of 10 would do again. Deleted. Cage diving with sharks. I've had a bunch of cool things happen. Flown both a plane, solo even, and a helicopter. Dislike. Helicopters are evil. Deep sea fishing and caught marlin, tuna, wahoo, barracuda, mahi-mahi and more. Scuba diving in the Red Sea, Great Barrier Reef and more. Won around $7,000 USD at a casino in Macau in 10 minutes. Climbed Mount Fuji. Been through a hurricane. Drove 240 kilometers per hour. 150 miles per hour. On the Autobahn in a Volvo station wagon. Travel opens the world to cool, insanely memorable experiences. My advice is focus on saving money to get where you want to go, then splurge on the activities. You'll forget what the hotel looked like in a month. The cool shit sticks with you forever.